okay. Let's try this again. The New York Giants versus the Dallas Cowboys. Week 2 matchup. Both teams 0-1. Both teams can't afford to go 0-2. Also can't afford to be 0-2 in the division. Big game for both teams. Obviously, what a difference a week makes. What a difference a game makes. And when you look at what happened in the past week, the last couple of days for the New York Giants, it has been a complete mess from legitimate expectations, and I said it in the other video, to devastation set in the minds of New York Giants fans. And it's crazy too because it's Thursday. For those that don't, it's Thursday. The Commanders play the Green Bay Packers tonight. I'm pulling for the Packers. It is what it is. But what happened last week? I don't know. I don't have enough fingers on my hands to point to how many issues I saw with the New York Giants last week. But with that being said, this is an entirely new week. I wish I can say this is an entirely new team, but I don't know what to expect from the New York Giants. But we are going to talk about this game, possible keys to victories, and, things of that nature. So with that being said, hello and welcome to Big Dash Knows. Big Dash knows what? New York Giants football. Let's go. Giants-Cowboys. Whew. It's been a long time since we beat those Dallas Cowboys. And for me, and my thoughts and my opinion is, it's already a must-win situation for the New York Giants. Not a must-win situation for being mathematically out of contention, but the feeling of everything is lost. That's what we're fighting against right now in week 2 versus the Dallas Cowboys. Is everything a complete loss, or was week 1 just the better team did better? We were out coach type deal, but we're going to turn it around. We have the people in place to make a change. I don't believe it, but I'm hoping for it. I already said my prayers, and we'll see what happens on Sunday. But all jokes aside, Dallas Cowboys versus Philadelphia Eagles opened up the NFL season. That game, I realized that all of the thoughts that I had about the Dallas Cowboys, Dak being rusty, coming back from an injury, the defense without Micah Parsons not looking good, the offense sputtering or whatever, that didn't happen at all. We saw Dallas move the ball consistently, and we saw that defense give the Philadelphia Eagles all that they can handle. Week 1 of the season. So the Dallas Cowboys already going into week 2 are even though the record's the same as the New York Giants, mentally they're in a different place because they just played the Super Bowl champions all the way to the end. And if it wasn't for a fumble and a couple of drops, who knows how that game ends. So they left that game saying, yeah, we're better than we thought. We just went 12 rounds with the Philadelphia Eagles, the Super Bowl champions, and we almost pulled it. Their fan base has a different confidence level right now than the New York Giants fan base. Like, we're at a loss for words right now. We're ready to jump ship already. We're already looking at the mock drafts. That's the difference of what's going on right now. And everybody's expecting the Dallas Cowboys to win. Well, I'm holding on to that little bit of hope that I got left, that little glimmer, that little shine, that little light at the end of the tunnel. I am hoping, because I no longer believe, outside of the offensive line, and I can point to certain positions and make me feel a certain way, there's players on this roster, especially on this defense. There are players on this roster that can get things done. They can play despite the scheme. They can get the offense back the ball despite what the defensive coordinator is calling. Speaking of defensive coordinator, he was at the podium today. They had the coordinators at the podium today, and they were pretty much asking him questions about the snap count for Micah Parsons. Good Lord, for Abdul Carter. Obviously, nobody's happy with the usage of Abdul Carter in week 1. And they talked about the injury to Micah McFadden and possibly Abdul Carter moving into the off-ball linebacker spot in place of Micah McFadden. And he kind of played with the answers, walked around and said, okay, well, that's something that could happen. But he said, they're pretty much depending on Muasau to step up. I could have fell out of my seat. Because we know what Muasau is. Muasau is a 6th-round pick. Muasau is pretty good in the run defense, but when it comes to pass coverage, he is a liability. That's why as soon as he got into the game last week, they picked on him, and Zach Ertz got the touchdown. Listen, and that's not a knock. Darius Muasau is a NFL player. There's a role on a team for Darius Muasau, but for what the New York Giants need right now, we need the best 11 guys on the field as much as possible. And we saw that last week. We didn't do that as much as possible. But we need the best 11 guys on the squad, on the defense, on the field as much as possible, playing together, getting the snaps together as much as possible. And right now, the Giants have a built-in excuse to put Abdul Carter wherever they want, but also off-ball linebacker. That is what he played before he moved to edge, and he did that pretty well. I don't see another solution. I'm not riding with the whole Darius Muasau, and respectfully I say this. I think the best option that we have is to put Abdul Carter in that spot. And it's not saying that you use Abdul Carter the same way that you use Micah McFadden. No, he is still a defensive weapon. You still want to move him around. But in some of those base sets, he's not going to hurt you playing the role of Micah McFadden. But when you get into those passing downs, send him up the A-gap, send him off the edge, get creative with him, stunts, whatever you need to do, make it happen. But right now, there's no reason why a NFL DC cannot make it work with the players that are in front of him. And I saw a video, I forget who it was, who said the kitchen was bad for the New York Giants. So no matter what ingredients they have, if that same kitchen, if that same chef is doing the cooking, it's going to be a problem. I think that might have been Gil. And I usually don't quote Gil too much, but I like what he said about that. That was a good analogy. Now, moving on to how we played the Dallas Cowboys. I think because we were not able to run the ball consistently or effectively against the Washington Commanders up the middle, even though we did get some success, to the outside, I think that the New York Giants probably overcorrect and go 12 personnel a lot in this game. That's just my thoughts. And if we see it early, that's probably why they're overcorrecting, saying we could not run the ball. So now let's go ahead and 12 personnel, double tight setup, and try to run the ball that way, which to me, I understand why. I think you can do that with the double tight set because we were successful. When we were running the ball successfully, it was towards the outside. But at the end of the day, how long is it going to take for us to realize that we might just not have the right people up front in this combination for the roster that we have right now? Again, we can already talk about next year's draft and what guards we're going to draft and what guards or centers are going to be in free agency that we're going to pick up. But right now, we still have, 17 weeks left of this season. It's not too late to make some changes. I understand Brian Dable gave a vote of confidence to John Michael Schmitz yesterday. And you know what? I'm going to sit back, I'm going to relax, and I'm going to wait to see. Because if the same thing happens this week that happened last week, there's not going to be any more excuses that you have left for that interior offensive line, whether you want to put most of the blame on John Michael Schmitz or either one of the guards, because everybody got their fair share of blame in that interior offensive line, in my opinion, against the Washington Commanders. But if the New York Giants are going to be successful, especially if you're still keeping Russ at quarterback, we got to be able to run the ball successfully. The strength of Russell Wilson's game, play action, getting the ball downfield, and you cannot run play action if you're not a real threat or if the defense doesn't feel like you're a real threat to run the ball. Now, here's where some of the trouble lies. That Dallas Cowboys front, that defensive line, got better. Addition by subtraction, pretty much. They got rid of, they traded Micah Parsons. They got 2 first-round picks. But the best thing that happened for them this season was getting back Kenny Clark. Kenny Clark is a disruptor. We saw it against the Philadelphia Eagles week 1. When they tried to run the ball up the middle, Kenny Clark is a disruptor. I don't expect him to look any different against us. And was Odigizua is the other defensive tackle. We got to be stout. We got to be stout in order for this run game to be successful, or it's going to look just like what it looked like in week 1 against the Commanders. Their defensive tackles got pushed. Those defensive tackles were disruptors. We saw it on the first play of the game where Tyrone Tracy got stuffed in the backfield, couldn't even get a yard, actually was a negative yard on first down in the first game of the season. We cannot survive doing things like that. I understand you want to run the ball. Just thinking that you can run the ball doesn't mean you're able to run the ball. If you are limited, you have to make some adjustments, and I'm hoping, because we didn't get adjustments in the halftime, but I'm hoping a whole week of preparation is enough time to see those adjustments. So got to be able to run the ball, but also, and it's the same thing for me every week, we got to be able to use our tight ends. And that's another subject for the week. We've seen videos get put out now. Shout out to my man Authentic. Put out a fantastic video talking about Daniel Bellinger, his skill set, what he brings to the table, what his value is. And you guys know me already. I've been a Daniel Bellinger fan since we got him. I went from not knowing who this kid was out of San Diego State to, you know what, I like this kid a lot. I like what he's doing. Young tight end. He's more than just a 5th round. And then now you're looking like, yeah, I think I'm right. And then we're trying to force the ball to Theo Johnson. But to me, it still feels like, and I'm going to stand on this, that Daniel Bellinger still is the best tight end on the team. He should be the tight end 1. Put Theo Johnson at tight end 2, and let's see how it goes from there. But one thing that Daniel Bellinger does do is catch the ball. Rarely ever does he drop it. Over 90% catch as far as his catch rating. Get him the targets. Let him move the chains. We saw it against the Washington Commanders. The one target that he got was a catch, and it moved the chains, and it was a big play in the red zone. But I digress. There's some things that I'm right about. There's some things that I'm wrong about, and I can accept that. Daniel Bellinger, I believe I'm right about. JMS, I was definitely wrong about. Defensively, when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, how we play those guys, our defense versus those guys, obviously we're not going to spy. Dak Prescott is not the same type of rushing threat that Jaden Daniels is. So I believe that Shane Bowen will be able to calm down off of the QB spy or trying to, make sure that the quarterback is in one spot. I don't think Dak Prescott is going to move as much. So maybe, not saying that he's a statue. He's not a statue. We saw him be able to move around the pocket enough to extend the plays. But we saw him run a little bit, and to me, he's not a threat of taking off at all. And actually, I actually hope he does take off because I believe we're going to chase him down. But we got to get constant pressure. We got to mix in the blitz. Again, you might see a few maybe slot corner blitzes. Maybe you might see a safety blitz that's disguised, something like that. I think that's something that you're going to have to do. Now, Dak Prescott is very good against the blitz. So you got to try to make it not as obvious because he's going to read it. He's a veteran quarterback. No matter how we feel about Dak Prescott, some people love him, some people hate him, some people think he's not good at all. He's good enough to beat the blitz. He's still smart enough to get the ball out quick and know where to go with it. So we got to be on our A game against the Dallas Cowboys. Get pressure with 4. Same old game plan. Hide some, sneak a couple of blitzes in there, here and there, just to keep Dak Prescott thinking, and then hopefully the back end holds up. Better game from the secondary, and they did pretty good the first game. They gave up a couple of plays. There were a couple of drops that went our way playing against the Washington Commanders, but against that, we were pretty good, with the cornerbacks, wrapping up, making tackles until that Deebo Samuels run. So we just got to play better. All around, we got to play better. Tyler Nubin, Javon Holland, maybe this is the game that they get their interception. I think that if anybody's going to get an interception in this game, the safeties are probably going to get that interception. Also, keep an eye on these tight ends, please. We saw with Ertz last week. Year after year after year, going back in Giants history, we've always had issues with the tight ends, covering tight ends. Hopefully we can do that this week because Jake Ferguson is a solid tight end, and Dallas is always using their tight ends, successfully. But yeah, man, got to play better. Coaches got to coach better and scheme better, and then make the correct adjustments. Not at halftime, but as soon as possible within the game. And if we can keep the score low, who knows? Maybe there's a chance for a moon ball this week. Maybe it's Slayton. Maybe it's Neighbors. Maybe it's one of the running backs on a wheel route. Maybe we're able to break a big play and score some touchdowns and see what happens. But it can't be another 2 field goal game for the New York Giants. That will not be accepted by the fan base. And if you think it's loud and people are complaining right now, just wait to see what happens if that happens again. But let me know what you guys think, man, in the comment section, man. Just a quick preview again. I don't take the deepest of dives because right now I don't know what the New York Giants are, and everything that I wanted to see I didn't see, so I don't know what to expect. If we start playing better, the dives will get deeper, and the strategy will become more plans, and the videos become more in detail. But right now, I'm just waiting for a win from the New York Giants, just like you're waiting for a win from the New York Giants, and hopefully we get one this week. But with that being said, I want to thank everybody for vibing with me. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And from one Giants fan to another, this is Big Dash Knows, Big Blue Nation. Let's go.
We got to